Good morning, brothers and sisters, and welcome to the Church of Doom. My name is Landon, and if you're new here or you're watching this down the road a little bit, then this is a channel which previously was basically totally focused on TTRPGs, but as of this new year, and we're going to get into a lot of this in more detail in a little bit here, but this is a channel where I just want to be able to talk about and get into all of the different cool nerdy hobbies that I am into. That means TTRPGs like Dungeons and Dragons or Daggerheart. That means miniature kit bashing for games like Warhammer 40K. This is like a cool Inquisitor model that I was working on for a warband. We'll talk about him and his retinue here a little bit more down the road. It means talking about the books that I'm reading. It means talking about the video games that I'm playing. It means just getting into and enjoying nerdy things and sharing with you all. And if I had to kind of give it a unifying lens beyond just like, oh, just nerdy things, it would probably be world building. I have been playing D&D for years. I've probably been playing D&D for more of my life than I haven't now, and I turned 30 just last October. And there's a ton about the game that I like the actual gameplay is a lot of fun, but I'm sure all of you have this too, where like sometimes you're really into it, sometimes you're really not into it. But at the end of the day, no matter what, even if I'm like, I just do not want to run D&D or I'm not really in the mood right now, world building is the thing that just holds all of my hobbies together. It's that creative glue. And so if you ever tune into the Church of Doom, if you're listening to a live stream or a future video or a podcast, just know that I'm here to talk about cool world building and share my ideas, hopefully to inspire you to do something cool with your own hobby. So, with that being said, what are we here today to talk about? Well, we're here today to talk about my hobby goals for 2026, or my hobby missions, as I'm calling them. I've got 1d8 missions to go through with you all. Also going to do a little bit of kind of an update, some hobby updates in my life and what I've been working on. And then, depending on how many folks we've got in the chat at the end of this, if you stick around with me for however long I ramble about all this stuff, we'll do a little bit of a Q&A. But let us pray. Biggest update, hugest update in my hobby life is that I am now a father. I had my first son, Calvin Matthew Gus, on December 24th at 10:42 p.m. He was almost a Christmas baby, but we got lucky and we had him on Christmas Eve. And so he is like a week and 3 days old now. And he has completely changed my life in every possible way imaginable. And I won't go into all like the personal side of that, but to talk about purely the hobby side of what he's sort of changed in my life, even in just this week and a half, before I had a kid, I kind of had an abundance of time. Even with being married and working I've started a career in elementary education. Even with all of that and family stuff or whatever, I still felt like I had an abundance of time. And what I have learned and sort of I've learned this about myself and just heard other people talking about it over the past years. When you have too much time, it's really hard to do anything. And that kind of applies to anything that you have an abundance of, but especially when it came to my hobby, it's like if I had all day to work on a project, I almost wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't really be able to get myself to sit down and focus on something and really commit time to it. But now, with a kid, I do not have an abundance of time, which I'm excited about. I hear a lot of parents like complain about that, and hey, I've only had a kid for a week and a half, so give me a month and we'll see how I feel. But like as of right now, I love it. I'm grateful for it. I wanted to have a kid. So I'm not like, oh, he took all my time. I don't have time to do my nerdy hobbies anymore. No, I'm actually like, oh, sweet. Now that the 20 minutes of hobbying I can squeak in at some point in the day means a lot more to me now. So that's the hugest, biggest update for me. I am actually a father, and that has had a lot of changes on my hobby, primarily keeping me focused, giving me real appreciation for any time that I can commit to it and squeeze every last drop out of it. And part of that is why I wanted to get back on here on the camera with y'all and commit to doing some weekly hobby sermons on the Sunday, because it's an opportunity for me to kind of scratch that hobby itch, get on here and talk about world building stuff for an hour or so. But also I can share and kind of spotlight all the little things that I've been doing throughout the week to scratch the itch. And hopefully it kind of shows you all like, hey, you don't need a ton of time to really enjoy your hobby, whatever it is, miniature painting, TTRPGs, whatever, right? So that's the biggest hobby update in my life. Another update, what I've been enjoying recently, well, actually what I haven't really been enjoying recently is TTRPGs. I know, blasphemy coming from me. This whole channel for years has been all about TTRPGs. But I just feel like over the past maybe 6 months or so, the passion for it has just, it's been a struggle to keep it not even going up, just to keep it steady, to keep it level. I find that I'm often dipping down and not enjoying my hobby, or not enjoying TTRPGs more often than I'm enjoying them. And I think it's for two reasons. First one is just burnout. Like every GM, you just run it for so long that eventually you're kind of like, oh, can I do anything else? I really don't want to do it tonight. And that is also extra for me because the only campaign that I am personally running right now is a Daggerheart paid campaign on startplaying.games. And doing it for money, as Runehammer has said in the past, it's your hobby jobby. So like when I sit down on Wednesday nights to run my session for my group, not every time, but sometimes I'm like, oh man, like I actually really don't want to be doing this. But the players that I have, are amazing. I actually do love my players, and some of them might even be tuned into this stream or watching it down the road. So guys, it's not you. It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. But it really is just sitting down and being like, oh, if I wasn't getting paid and I could have canceled last minute, I might have. So that's kind of complicated things with it. But also, and the bigger part of it truly for me is unmet desires. I'm not exactly sure what word to use for it, but I think it's like what I want, what in my head I enjoy most about RPGs and what I hope to get out of it. I find that I don't get it as often as I want to when it comes to Daggerheart or D&D or whatever, right? Pick your poison. So for me, what that means is I love really deep role play, getting into a character or a player and just like literally living in their skin. Well, not literally living in their skin, but like taking on their thoughts and just being in that character as much as you can. I find to kind of pat myself on the back, I think I'm really good at that, especially when it comes to playing like a character. I can be this one character and make any action, and I know that it's what that character would do, which is the trope of like, it's what my character would do. But I like doing that. And when I've been playing TTRPGs a lot more, or when I've just been playing them so much that as time's gone on, I find that I'm not able to do that as much as I want to. I'm kind of having to like bounce around from NPC to NPC, or there's just a lot of combats with kind of just like nameless monsters or enemies. And you could say, well, just make some of your bad guys more like fleshed out so that you can really play their character. But that kind of goes into this, that is part of the other reason that I'm not having my desires for TTRPGs met, which is like, for as much as I love to live in the mind of a character and really explore them, at the same time, I like to be able to bounce around from thing to thing to thing. I've got ADHD, and I've joked in the past that I have like campaign ADHD, where I will start something, start a story, and I'll be really into it, and then a few weeks I'm like, I actually want to do this totally different thing that has nothing to do with the campaign we're doing right now, but because I've got these players who are invested in the story, I can't just do that. I can't just drop everything. And so when it comes to like the villains, right, like fleshing out a villain, it's like, well, I don't want to get bored playing the same villain for months at a time. I might enjoy just being them for a session and getting really into them for a session or two. But I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Really what it is just unmet desires of I want to be able to bounce around to a lot of different things. I want to design a bunch of different settings and go into one of them in extreme amounts of detail and then go through like 3 other ones that are just scratching the surface, just kind of exploring the ideas. And also think about the characters and the monsters that would populate them and the stories I could tell. That's actually maybe a good way to put it. I've found that what I like most about D&D or RPGs is the stuff that I could do. I like thinking about my options. I don't get a lot of joy out of sitting down and fleshing out a whole setting or a town in crazy detail. I don't even like doing like monster stat blocks. That's like pulling teeth for me. If I have to sit down and prep a Daggerheart stat block, I'm like, oh. I will literally put it off till the last minute before a session and like, oh shit, all right, gotta make it work. More often, I just kind of make it up in the spot. What I like to do instead is kind of have like the idea kind of like, it's like in one ear and out the other. I'll have this thought of like, ooh, that'd be a cool idea for a town. That'd be a cool idea for a monster. That'd be a cool idea for an adventure. Kind of mull it over for a little bit, maybe sit on it for a few days, flesh out some options, and then just let it go and not get too attached to it. And that's just hard with D&D. Even if you want to just try and like run some one shots for a while, anytime I've tried to do that, it inevitably ends up becoming like a bigger campaign, just because that's what players I think sort of want, or that's like the expectation that is out there for TTRPGs. So all that to say, TTRPGs not really doing it for me right now. I still like them. I still want to play them, but it's not like my passion right now. I'm not like, it's not all I can think about. What I'm really getting into, and I've been into this for probably as long as I've been into D&D, if not longer actually, is miniatures. Miniature painting, miniature kit bashing, miniature war games like Warhammer 40K or Age of Sigmar, Lord of the Rings, strategy, battle game, like all that sort of stuff. You know, I already showed the Inquisitor guide that I was working on, but you guys might have seen, I had a video last year where I just kind of was kit bashing some like monster minis. I need to make sure I can see. Are you guys seeing the right thing? Hold on. Give me one sec. I'm going to hop onto YouTube, make sure that this camera is focused correctly. Oh, wait. Delay. Yeah, okay, sweet. We can see it. Good. So, like, I kit bashed this cool monster with, like, a weird beholder head, and this was a big basilisk body from Bastaria Minis, and this was, like, a weird... It was, like, a wing for some creepy fey angel thing that I put on its tail, and the idea was that this monster, this tail was like goopy and slimy, and it would swipe it out and would use it almost like a hand to kind of catch things and throw it into its giant cyclopean-headed maw. And that, I love that. To me, like, that is storytelling in and of itself, just as I created this cool monster mini. And I get more enjoyment out of that, out of building this little mini and thinking of the story in my head of what this thing is and how it could fight. That's more fun to me than actually painting this and putting it on the table and using it in a session of D&D. To me, that actually kind of takes away some of the fun, because I'm like, oh, all of the things that this could be are now just restricted to this one instance of what's happening at the table. I'm very curious if any of you can sort of relate to that or have similar feelings. But anyways, yeah, I'm really enjoying, and I love miniatures, and I want to do more of that this year. And maybe that this is a good time, or we're getting close to transitioning into our main segment today of what are my hobby goals. But I just wanted to share those updates that I'm a dad, that TTRPGs are sort of waning in interest for me a bit, but there's lots of adjacent hobbies that I really want to get into. Oh, another one is like reading. I have not read a book in so long that wasn't like a rule book, and that's pretty embarrassing. But anytime I'm in a bookstore, we have like a fun little bookstore near us. It's like a used bookstore, and they have a big pulp section of these old sci-fi and fantasy and science fantasy novels. And ever since I was a little kid, I remember flipping through a Frank Frazetta art book at my grandpa's house and just being like so interested and obsessed with that art style, this old pulpy art style. So when I see these books, I was like, oh, that'd be fun to read. That'd be kind of cool. And so last year, as we were, funny enough, actually, as we were prepping and decorating my son's nursery, I made a big bookshelf with my dad. It's actually really cool. It looks like a castle tower. It's a corner bookshelf. It's 2 stories. It has like a big kind of open compartment on the bottom for like, we bought him like castle blocks so that he could put down there. And then it's a taller sort of tower on top. And I have the little like turrets or the parapets or whatever like on the outside edges of it. It's so cool. Maybe I'll post a picture somewhere. But anyways, I needed books to fill the shelf. And of course, some of the ones that I picked were books like this. I just started snagging some of these old pulpy books because of the art and the funny names. And then I thought, well, why not just, I should read one of these. So I picked up Starbrat and read this. It's part of like a 6-book series. This was by John Moresi, and this was from 1972. And it is so good. And I have enjoyed reading this. reading this was so much more fun to me than sitting down and like watching a modern movie, or obviously like doom scrolling social media. Like that sort of stuff, I am very committed to just distancing myself from as far as possible this year. I do not want to be spending time on social media. I don't like a lot of the movies that are coming out nowadays. In fact, I have been rewatching Lord of the Rings with my son, just sitting on the couch watching them. And then I bought the bonus extended edition that has like all the behind the scenes, how they made the movie. And I'm watching all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, they don't make things like this anymore. And so that's sort of, I guess it's probably nostalgia in a way, but also just an appreciation for the arts is also, I think, what has me so interested in reading books like this. And that's part of one of my goals we'll talk about more in a minute. But there was one line from this book that, or a section here that I wanted to share that I thought was so cool, and that also applies to TTRPGs. I'm not going to spoil the book. If you want to go read it, it's called Starbat. It's really good. But at one point, there's a fight. There's a lot of fights in the book, but there's a big fight, and several people die. And there's this kind of random NPC sort of character who's talking to the main character and says like, oh, we will never forget their sacrifice. They will always be remembered. We will tell their tale for generations to come. And the main character makes this like real, I wish I had marked the page. Of course I didn't in the moment, but he basically says like, you know, you say you're going to remember them forever, but it seems like they're already being forgotten because you don't even know their names. You're just referring to them as them. We will remember them. And he refers to one of the characters like the tall one. And he's like, he's not just the tall one. He has a name. It's Stretch. But that line, when I read it, I was like, whoa, that is so good. You say you'll remember them forever, but they already seem to be being forgotten. And I kind of wonder how often that applies in our TTRPG campaigns when a player character dies or an NPC dies or even a villain. I think a villain can die and it's like, just another body on the pile, throw it on the corpse cart. Like, yeah, who really cares? And it just had me thinking like, yeah, how many players or how many GMs sort of tell ourselves like, oh, we're really invested in the story, or oh, I love the immersion and I take the game really seriously. But then when meaningful things happen, and death being one of the most meaningful and impactful, when that happens, it's like, does it really stick in our memory, or does it, more applicable advice, does it really influence or impact our role play more than the remainder of that session, maybe the next one, right? So that one, just that line stuck with me, and I think it'll influence the way I kind of look at games going forward, especially RPGs, but also just was like, yep, I want to keep reading some more. So with that as our transition, let's talk about my hobby goals this year. I've got 8 of them. My 1d8 hobby missions. So this year I want to, number 1, study. I want to read at least 24 fantasy or sci-fi or science fantasy books to expand my sources of inspiration and keep my brain off social media. So that's about 2 per month. I am going to include do I want to include rule books in it? I kind of think I do, because like, it's upstairs because I was reading it the other night actually, but like, the Leviathan Warhammer 40k rulebook has so much lore packed into it about the orcs and the Eldar, Dark Eldar, like Chaos Tier, all of them, right? Obviously. And because I've always just played Space Marines, I've never read that part of the book. But now as I'm reading and getting sources of inspiration for them, I'm like, oh, I need to go back and read some of that. Like, I bet there's some super cool lore ideas and little tiny stories of certain characters in that rule book that I would really enjoy. So as part of my read 24 book goal, I'm going to include rule books in it, so long as it's not strictly like a little Mork Borgy, like, I put it over on my other shelf, like a little zine rule book wouldn't count. But the Leviathan rule book, which is big, like that lore section is, I don't know, probably like 100 pages or something. That will count towards this goal. And so in the future, as I work on these books, I start checking more of them off, I'll be sharing more and more of, I don't think I'll ever do like book reviews or like huge, like, hey, let's get you all caught up on the story I'm reading. But I think I want to just do what I did with Starbat of like, hey, there was this one line that really stuck out to me last week when I was reading, and here's how I think it could apply to our stories or our world building or whatever. So I'm going to be doing more of that. And hopefully that inspires some of you to also read some more. Let's talk about mission number 2. This year I want to practice. I want a hobby at least 20 minutes every day through writing, reading, kit bashing, painting, crafting, or playing whatever the hell I want, as long as it's nerdy and cool. 20 minutes is totally reasonable. I think, even if it is, I'm just going to stay up 20 minutes late. I'm just going to stay up 20 minutes, probably later than I should, after we've put Calvin down, and I'm going to read. Or even actually right now, you can't tell because of the framing of the shot, but like my table over here, I have my big gaming table. It is totally filled with everything that I've pulled off of my shelf. Well, not everything, obviously, but like there's this shelf back here, and then there's another big shelf right here. I have basically emptied it, and I'm reorganizing my workshop downstairs, my lair, as I like to call it. It just got really messy and cluttery over the past few months because I wasn't doing a lot of hobbying, and so other random stuff was piling up in here. But also, it just isn't like a very intuitive way I stored things. So even that I would count towards my hobbying. If I just came down and for like an extra 20 minutes at night, I just kind of fiddle around with how I organize things and start tucking stuff away, I'm going to count that. If it is something I enjoy and it is something, a good way I could sort of frame it is like, if it's down here in my lair, then it's probably hobby related. And so I want to do at least 20 minutes of that every day, as close to every day as I can. And going back to what I talked about sort of at the beginning of the stream, 20 minutes is more than enough. I don't need an hour. I don't need half a day. I don't need even an hour. Like, that would be great. And I'm sure there will be days where like, oh, nice. I get to paint for uninterrupted a few hours today because Erin is out. She went to brunch with her friends and she took Calvin. Let's get some serious hobbying in. But 20 minutes, I want to just be able to be content with that 20 minutes. I don't want to long and want for more. I just want to be grateful for the time that I have and be excited about what I make in those 20 minutes rather than needing a full day to make something crazy big. Like, I can just be happy with the small stuff, right? That's hobby mission number 2. Hobby mission number 3 this year, I want to muster. I want to kit bash at least 6 warbands. And the game systems that I identified for those 6 warbands. And if you don't know what a warband is, it's in miniature game terminology, it's sort of like a skirmish size game. It's like anywhere, I would say probably from like 4 to 10, maybe 12 minis kind of forms a skirmish force, a skirmish warband. So instead of building like this giant shelf back here, that is all unpainted, but kit bashed Black Templar. That is a massive Black Templar army I kit bashed probably 2 years ago. I got super hyper fixated on it. That is not a warband. A warband would be like this Inquisitor that I showed off at the beginning. This is his little warband. So it's just a bunch of his little inquisitorial agents that he has with him. Oh, this is one of my favorites. So that's a Bistarium Knight. It's like kind of a swamp knight dude that I put a relic shield on, gave him like a power pack, put some weird cables on his faceplate. I really like this guy too. Just like a space knight it's like a space marine, but not nearly as cool or powerful. But he's got just like a weird big combi melta-gun with cables that I had go up onto his power pack. And so this would be a warband that I could kit bash and paint up over a week or two. And what I really like about warbands is the size. It's just a lot more doable. It's less daunting to attempt it even. Like, to attempt this, even that, I'm like, oh, I built it. But now to paint it, I'm like, oh, that's going to take forever. That is doable. And also what I like even more about warbands when it comes to skirmish war games is the storytelling that goes into them. That as you're putting together each character, you can imagine what their backstory is and why they're part of this warband. What purpose do they serve within it? What is their relationship with the other characters? How do they fight? When you imagine them on the battlefield, what do they look like? What are they doing? And that is so fun. It is so much fun. It's like the world building, character creation side of RPGs, but in a war game where you're getting to build all sorts of cool miniatures. And then you just put them up on display. You get to think about them all the time. It's so cool. But anyways, the 6 games that I really want to build a warband for are Forbidden Psalms, which is a Morkborg skirmish war game where you put together a group of, I think it's like 4 or 5. You could have up to 5 in a warband mercenaries. And the framing of the game Forbidden Psalms is you're hired by this wizard and you go serve a bunch of you do a bunch of jobs for this wizard. And the rulebook even has like a little campaign you can play through. But you can do it co-op. You can do it like 1v1. So you are fighting somebody else. You can do a co-op where you're working together, or you can do it solo. It's a solo war game. And I actually, right in front of me on my workbench, I have my kit bashed warband. I've already kit bashed the warband for Forbidden Psalms, but I haven't painted it. I haven't based it or anything. And I'm not going to show that off yet because I think that'll be, I don't know if it'll be next week, but that'll be a future hobby update. You'll have to keep tuning in to see what does my Forbidden Psalms warband look like and what's their story. I will give you, the only thing I'll say about it is that it's very Zinchian inspired from the 40k universe as well. But that's all I'm going to say about that. So Forbidden Psalms. There is Lord of the Rings strategy battle game Battle Companies. If any of you listen to the Hive Scum podcast, then you already know how awesome those guys are and how inspiring their podcast is. And you've heard them talk about Lord of the Rings Middle-earth strategy battle game Battle Companies. If you haven't listened to that podcast, go check it out. It's awesome. That if you know Miscast, Trent Holbrook, if you've watched him, they're buddies of his, so like very similar vibes. But this game was released a few years ago as kind of a companion to the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, which is where you muster like an army of Lord of the Rings miniatures led by Aragorn, or you have your Saruman leading his force of Isengard or whatever, and you fight your armies. This is the skirmish version where you build a small war band that has no heroes. Which is ironic because it has like Thorin on the cover, but in this rulebook you're not having Thorin or Bilbo or Aragorn. You are doing like if you did Minas Tirith as your battle company. You just have a few Gondorian soldiers, and maybe one of them is on a horse, and a few of them have bows and swords. Or you might do like the Rangers of the North, but they're not led by Faramir, or Faramir's not a ranger from the North, or they're not led by Strider, right? And you can do all sorts of different forces. They've got Mordor, Minas Morgul, Isengard. You could just do like a Warg Rider battle company, which I actually have like randomly. I have a handful of like Lord of the Rings miniatures. So I do have some Warg Riders. I have some Uruk-hai with their big pikes. I've got some of the, not Easterlings. What are they called? What were they? Wait, where are they? What are these guys? The ones who ride the Mumakil? Mumakil? Is that what they were called, right? Or no, Mumakil. Oliphant? I think they're called I think that's two names for the same creature in the world. Anyways, I happen to have like a bunch of random Lord of the Rings miniatures. Oh, I also have like this Gondor flag bearer dude. So I have minis to work with to kit bash a little battle company. I'm not sure what I want to do. Maybe I'll make two. Maybe I'll do an evil and a good. That actually would be fun because something about the Warg Riders I'm really interested in right now. But for the forces of good for my battle company, the only idea I've sort of had right now is a force of Gondor soldiers who, not denounced isn't quite the right word. Defected also doesn't sound right for the world. But basically, like they saw what, what is Faramir and Boromir's Denethor? They saw Denethor's corruption. They saw what was happening. They saw that he was losing his mind and that he was going to bring about the fall of the White City. And they defected. They went off, not to Osgiliath. They basically just like they're fugitives in Gondor, kind of like Eomer and what he was doing with his Rohirrim. You know, he was out roaming Rohan with his other horsemen, and still fighting the good fight, even though King Theoden was withering away and losing his mind. I thought doing something similar for Gondor would be cool. That a few of these soldiers decided, hey, like we can't save Middle-earth, we can't save Denethor, and if we were to speak out, he'd probably have us thrown in the dungeons or whatever. But we can at least go out and fight the orcs and the spies of Mordor that are trying to work their way into the city or into the kingdom of Gondor. Something like that would be kind of cool for the lore of it. We'll see where that goes. So that's the second one. Third warband that I want to make, the game system, is for Flames of Orion, which you probably have not heard of unless you watch or have listened to the Hive Scum podcast. But this, I'm going to just quickly do my Google view. This is Flames of Orion. It's mechanized combat in a dark future. It is a skirmish war game where you build your own mech suits. And the rule book is I'm gonna pick up the PDF. Oh, we want to go, let's do the ramshackle one. Hold on. I actually was on the wrong link. This is what I meant to show off. Yeah, this is so cool. So these are by Gardens of Hecate, I think is how you say it. She's an awesome sculptor. Anna, what's her last name? I can't remember her last name, but it's Anna's her first name. But she sculpted these mechs. And what's really cool about Flames of Orion, if I understand it correctly, is you're not just like one mech. You have a force of them, and you get to like come up with the story of the pilot inside of it. It's not just, oh, I'm building these giant robots and there's nothing really to them. They're just AIs or whatever. No, you like really think about the person inside of it and kind of give it a personality. But that just sounds so cool. I've always loved the Titans of Warhammer 40K, but I don't know why I've never been interested. I guess I've never been interested in mech war games because I've never really seen one that was cool to me. Like BattleTech just never interested me. But Flames of Orion is really cool because I know it's from a guy who passes the sniff test. He's awesome. He gets the vibe of what makes a cool narrative war game, and the minis that have been sculpted for it are awesome. And I just think it'd be a ton of fun to kit bash my own and come up with a story for them. So that's another big one for me is expanding, building a warband for Flames of Orion. But what's also cool about that is it's taking me out of my comfort zone of what I normally kit bash and work on. I've only ever really done like 28 millimeter, human and monster minis. I've never done mechs or robots really. So that'll be something totally different for me, which I think will be cool. The next one is Kill Team. That's obvious. Warhammer 40K's Kill Team. I already showed off my inquisitorial kill team that I have assembled. I just have to paint it. That seems to be a trend of mine. I kit bash a bunch of stuff, but I don't actually paint it. Here's another one from that force that I did. This is the gun servitor. There's supposed to be two. Oh, there's the other one. Get the other one. So these are my two gun servitors, which I think are so cool. I like that this guy over here is like carrying this little mini shrine. That's from a Knucklebones mini. Whoa, get in front of my face. So I threw that on his arm, gave him a couple weird big plasma cannon thing, put some exhaust pipes on his back. So yeah, that'll be really, really cool. I'm excited to work on those and paint that up. And then I want to do Trench Crusade, which, if you can believe it, I also have... I didn't kit bash these with the intent of having them be for Trench Crusade, but as I've seen more of the game and I've just looked at these guys more and more, I'm like, actually, they'd be pretty perfect for it. But these could be like maybe like Trench Pilgrims. I don't know the forces very well yet, so I need to look that up more. But, oh, this guy, I really love this guy. Like reading from this heretical or zealous book with his dagger. It looks like he's about to stab into it. And then he's got like scripture on his chest or whatever. Oh, so cool. I've got probably, well, I'll show off a few more of these guys too, just because I think they're cool looking. I like this guy in the stocks. That's a Stormcast Eternal head that I threw on him. So I don't know how he would fight. I'd probably just ram his head. Oh, that's a cool idea. Just this guy in the stocks just like running across the battlefield, and he slams into people, and when they fall down, he just bashes his head into them over and over again. That would be cool. And then I like this guy. This one's a little too grimdarky with his AdMech arm that I gave him, but I like that his weapon is just like this bell, this church bell that he just swings around and crushes skulls with. So I already have at least the start of a Trench Crusade warband ready to go, but I'll need to expand it with some of like their elite units and things like that. But I've got to start to it. And then the very last one is Turnip 28. And if you have not heard of Turnip 28, that doesn't surprise me because that one's also pretty niche, but it's very cool. So this is Turnip 28. What I understand about the lore is it's like, I don't think it's in our world, but it's like it's very Napoleonic in like sort of how the characters are dressed. It's a lot of like skirmish riflemen and Napoleonic like generals with big hats. But it's in a world where some sort of crop-based plague has taken over the world, and it like drives people insane, and it grows into them, and like there's sort of like weird plant people and plant creatures, and really everything is just wacky and not goofy. Wacky's probably a better word for it. Everything's wacky and disgusting, and yeah, let me just scroll through and you can see some of the cool art. Like that's Napoleonic, right? With the big hat, and he's like looking at a battlefield. You can see he's got like weird roots growing out of him, and like this insect arm that's growing out of his left arm. What's some other ones? Oh yeah, look at that. Like, what is that? It's like a weird big scarecrow crop monster thing with a big mouth and all of the war medals. It's so bizarre. And you get to build a little warband, and the game is really about like your generals who then command your infantry and like brute units. But what I've also seen in like live plays and what I've heard about the game is there's a lot of cowardice. Like people are constantly running away or going crazy or too terrified to do anything. And it's all sort of in the vein of kind of comedy. And that sounds like a lot of fun. So I want to do a Turnip 28 force. I have no idea what the lore behind that will be. I have no clue. That one I probably won't do for a few months. I'll just let that simmer in the back of my head. I'll let it take root in my head, and we'll come up with something really cool. But those are the 6 game systems I want to build a warband for this year. Forbidden Psalms, Lord of the Rings strategy battle game battle companies, Flames of Orion, Kill Team, Trench Crusade, Turnip 28. We'll see if we can get some more squeaked in this year. But those are the ones I want for now. Ooh, very nice. Okay, hobby mission number 4. This year I want to paint. I want to slather, stipple, and slap some paint on at least 100 miniatures because I have let perfectionism stop me at the priming stage for far too long. And honestly, not even the priming stage a lot of times. As you guys have seen from the kill teams that I've been showing off, a lot of them I kit bash, but then I never paint, which is weird because as a kid, I loved painting. I painted so much all the time. And if I can be so brash, I'm actually not a bad painter either. Like this is Brother Gigan. This is like a kit bashed Marine that I put together for my Black Templar army. I know he looks like chaos, but he's not. Maybe I'll talk about the lore of my Black Templar army at some point in the future. But as time has gone on, I think what has happened is my perfectionism actually isn't the painting, because I know that I can paint well. I'm not worried about the paint looking bad. It's more like, oh, I could paint this as anything. Like, what's a good example? I'll just pull like this guy. I wish I could show. Actually, you know what? No, because then you won't be able to hear me. I have my top shelf right over here is filled with, I bet I've probably got close to 100 miniatures that I've kit bashed over the past year and a half or so. But they all look like this. I base them, I zenithal prime them, which means I prime them black and then I do an overcoat from above with white to make the details pop, and I leave them. And I do like this look. And it was a style that I adopted for a while where I wanted something really striking on the table. And for my own purposes, I never took this to a game store or anything, but I just liked how on like this dark green terrain board that I built, the white miniatures just boom, jumped off the table. But I know that I can do better, and I don't want to get so... I think why I liked this style was that it was... Oh man, how would I even describe it? Like, it was just so simple that I didn't have to... My brain could never let its wheels spin thinking about, well, what colors could I do? Does he have a red cape? Does he have a blue cape? Does he have a brown cape? What color is are his boots? You know, what his purity, his little seals and his medals that he have on him. What color do I want to do those? All of that could just like get so... I don't know, I can just think about that for way too long that I just I'll just do them white. And then I don't have to think about any of that. Which is fine. And I feel like I could just keep doing this style and be happy with it because I love the kit bashing side of things so much that I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But I know I can do better. And my mission here to force myself to paint at least 100 minis is really to just get me out of my comfort zone again. It's like, all right, maybe at the end of this year, I'll have 100 painted minis and I'll say, I actually like this more. I'm going to go back to this. But hey, who knows? Maybe after painting 100 minis, I'll be like, why did I ever do this? This is so boring. Excuse me. Like, this is so boring. I love having all of these colorful minis on the table. So we'll see where it goes. I have no idea, no expectations other than I expect to struggle at first and then get more and more comfortable with it as I go. All right. Hobby mission number 5. This year I want to socialize. I want to hang out at my friendly local game store at least 2 times per month. I have not been to a game store in, man, at least over a year. Over a year. I haven't been to a game store to play anything, to play a D&D, like sit in a one-shot or play a game of 40K or whatever. And that's for two reasons. One is I've just been content to just be in my basement doing my own thing for a while. But the other one was the game store that I went to the most often. This was a couple years ago, actually. I was doing real estate at the time, and I unfortunately became the annoying. Well, I wasn't annoying. I was annoying to myself in the sense of like I went to the game store and played games partially because I liked it, but also because I was networking. I was going there to talk to these other people and try and learn through like casual conversation, like who might be looking to buy and sell a home. And when I eventually made the best decision ever to like not do that anymore, I was just so like embarrassed about what the type of person I had been for that amount of time, and like how I just felt like gross too. I was like, that was just not. If I had known, if I was one of them and I had known that I was in real estate, or like if I was one of them and I had to talk to myself, I would have hated it, because it's like I was always interviewing people or interrogating them as subtly as I could with questions about what was going on in their life. And hey, maybe what's going on with your family? What's up with your friends? And listening for any sign of like, ooh, someone might be buying and selling a house. And I've just been so embarrassed. I like feel like I can't show my face there again. I don't think anybody there would really, I don't think anyone, if I walked back into that store, would be like, oh, great, it's Landon. Here we go. I think people would probably be like, oh, sweet. Hey, like, great. Another player here to play their games again. It's been a while. Where you been? But I don't know. I'm embarrassed still. And so I found a game store closer to where I live that I guess it's sort of like a fresh start for me. Like, yep, I just want to go to the game store just to actually like make friends with no other expectation. I'm not doing it to network in any shape or form. I'm not going there to try and like show off my minis or like win. I don't want to go play competitive 40K. That's like the last thing I want to do. I just want to go find some other like-minded people in person who also love narrative storytelling and world building and kit bashing and painting, and we can just hang out, at least twice a week, hopefully, or sorry, twice a month, and make some friends that way, because I don't have a lot of friends. I've got like one solid, really good friend, and that's kind of it. Then everyone else is very much on the fringes, and that's nobody's fault but my own. And so I want to try and fix that. And what better place to do it than at my friendly local game store? And as a little bonus goal on there, I might try and run a narrative event at this game store. I might try and do like probably be easiest to just do like a narrative kill team event later in the year, because I don't think getting people into games like Forbidden Psalms or Turn of 28 or Flames of Orion is a process. You really have to like convince these people to try it out, to get out of their own comfort zone of Warhammer 40K. So maybe I'll do a cool narrative kill team event, and that could be a lot of fun. All right, goal number 6. This year I want to build at least 20 1-foot by 1-foot terrain tiles to use in my RPGs and miniature war games. And I'm going to show you, go back onto our Google view, show you exactly kind of what I'm talking about here. So this is a terrain tile. Can I zoom in on that at all? Not really. So you can see that board has 4 distinct tiles that have been placed together, and there's like scattered terrain that goes around it. And I love the way, it kind of gets too focused on the minis in some of the shots, but like, I love the way this person, who is this? New on Sprue, did this terrain where it's like all kind of just one color. The buildings and the trees and the rocks are all the same color. I just like how simple that is, and the style is very, very cool. But it's also simple. It's easy. You can kind of crank some of this out very, very quickly, as opposed to like doing a bunch of detailed work on every building, every tree. But it's very modular too. Now, and you can see like some of this terrain, like the building on the bottom right, that is its own piece of scattered terrain. You could put that anywhere you want. But that rock formation on the left side, that's built into that tile. So I want to build at least 20 tiles. And this is not like 1 foot by 1 foot. There's like 10 inches by 10 inches. But basically, I just want to take like some cardboard squares or some wooden squares and do a bunch of cool pieces of a bunch of like cool pieces of terrain on them. Some of them might have like some ruins. Some might just have like a little graveyard. Some might just be kind of like flat, open terrain, because if every piece has something crazy, it's a little too busy. But I want to do at least 20 of these, so I have this modular tile system I can use to make a bunch of different boards for a bunch of different stories that I might want to tell. And then on top of that, I want to build a bunch of cool scattered terrain, just like New on Sprue did here. That one I'm really excited about. I've never been a big terrain guy, which I know there is a bunch of terrain back here, but most of that's my dad's that he's just kind of given to me over the years. There are some buildings on here that I made, but I haven't done much with them. So I want to use these to build some cool terrain tiles. I think that will be a ton of fun. And another thing that is outside my comfort zone. That's a big theme for this year. Doing things that I've either done in the past but have not in a long time, or I've just never really ventured into. I want to try all those things. 2 more. Mission number 7. This year I want to write. I want to publish, get ready for this, at least 100 random tables to inspire your world building, campaigns, one-shots, characters, and whatever the hell else you might be working on in your hobby. I used to put out so many random tables a few years ago, like during the height of COVID, when I had an abundance of time and was like really trying to build the Church of Doom into something, I don't know, build it into my primary source of income, which I have no intent of doing anymore. I'm not interested in doing that anymore. I was putting out like 3 random tables a day. I don't have the time or the energy and the interest in doing that anymore, but it is fun. I still enjoy like writing down and coming up with some random tables. I don't care to like put them out as like really well formatted PDFs either, because frankly, I don't think people use them. Like, I subscribe to several different Patreons who put out PDF stuff for RPGs, and it's like, I look at it once and then I never actually print it out or use it. I should, it'd be cool, but I don't. And I imagine it's probably the same for a lot of y'all. If you've been a patron of mine for a long time and you remember when I was doing all those random tables, like how many of those have you actually printed and actually used? So rather than do that and put all the time, put my 20 minutes I have a day into editing a random table, I've just picked up, I just want to like scribble them down. And I actually have a list that I'll share here at the end of this stream. I just wrote a quick little world building ideas list, a 1d8 or 1d6 table of just ideas to inspire a new world. And that is a lot of fun for me. And that's something that I could quickly type up and share in a Patreon post or share in a video like this. And I want to do that at least 100 times this year, because I know I could do that. Easy. I bet I could get 200 random tables in a year if I really wanted to. So that's a big goal of mine. Write at least 100 random tables and share them with you all. And my very last hobby mission, this year I want to participate. I want to enter in at least one community hobby competition, such as Smash Bash, the Simpso Shield Slam, or King of the Hill Giant. Let me show you sort of what these are. So Smash Bash is something that Totally Not Panicking, which is one of my favorite kit basher miniature creators out there right now, does every year. He does a cool competition where there's usually some sort of theme, and people from all across the country, all over the world, honestly, enter in their submissions, and then there's like a top 3. And I think we can look at the winners on here. Is there a link to it? There should be somewhere. Maybe not. But anyways, that's like what Smash Bash is, a cool miniature kit bashing competition from a figurehead in the community. Let me also show you another example of a cool competition that isn't quite as like demanding as kit bashing an entire model and doing like a really good paint job. This was the Simpso Shield Slam. It was just a little miniature competition put on by Simpso Minis on Instagram. Or I'm sorry, no, Big Boy Game Time. And the competition was just sculpt a shield. A cool shield, it's not even being held by anyone. And that was the first place winner. I think that was by Anna from Gardens of Hecate again. But then here, like, these are just some screenshots from the zine that he put out that had all the winners. But like, look how cool that one is with the half moon, half sun, and like that's so cool. And then I think there's like the number 2, I don't know, number 3, that's an inside joke, I guess. I don't know who that is. But number 2 with that shrieking demon face, it's so cool. And I see people do this all the time. They put on these like little mini competitions or community events, and I don't know why I don't participate. I should. It looks like a ton of fun. And it's a cool way to, like, I've never sculpted anything like that in my life, so that'd be a great way to get out of my comfort zone again. So that's what I want to do. Participate in at least one community event. It'll probably be, the easiest one is Smash Bash, because I know it's happening. It happens every year, and a bunch of other people will be doing it, so it's kind of it's got some momentum behind it. But if I get that done and another one pops up later in the year, I'll just do that one too. I would be curious if there are like RPG community sort of competitions or events. I'm not talking about like the Ennies, right? Where it's like awards given to like publishers. I just mean like maybe like a little dungeon slam, like design a 6-room dungeon and like there's going to be the top 3 winners or something. That would be really, really cool. So I need to look into things like that. Because I didn't specify it needs to be a miniature hobby competition. It just needs to be a hobby competition. Even though the examples I have on the Patreon post that went up to accompany this video or the stream, they're all miniature ones. I'm interested in other things too. But there you go. Those are my 1d8 hobby missions for 2026. Read 24 books. Hobby 20 minutes every day. Kit bash 6 warbands. Paint 100 minis. Hang out at my game store 2 times a month. Build 20 1-foot by 1-foot terrain tiles. Publish 100 random tables and enter 1 hobby community event. If you have your own goals, I would love to see them in the comments of the stream. And don't go anywhere, we're not done, because the last thing I wanted to do was share those world building ideas that I brainstormed. But I also want to hear from you guys. What are you doing this year to make 2026 the best hobby year you've ever had? I think this is going to be my best year ever, not only from a hobby perspective, but just in life. Like, I have a son now, and I'm 30. Like, I feel like I'm kind of going into... Well, growing up, my mom always said that her 30s were her favorite, that it was her best decade. And I'm feeling like I couldn't be starting that decade any better than having my newborn son and being so amped on so many different things in my hobby life, starting my career, like I said before, in teaching. I'll be starting to get my degree. I'm working at an elementary school right now in the front office, but I'll be getting my degree so that I can actually teach over the next... I'm hoping to have it in the next year and a half. But anyways, I've got lots going on right now. Lots of good stuff going for me. And the hobby is just part of it. And it's going to be awesome. So I want to hear from you all. What are you going to do to really enjoy your hobby this year? Okay, let's wrap this up with 1d6 world building ideas. So, on this world, and I'll preface this by saying this was just random. There was like all I did with this table was just think, what if I were to run an adventure in a new setting, what would it be? What sounds cool? So, on this world, number 1, living keeps. On this world, mortals live inside ancient mechs that roam the hostile, ruined landscape, delivering their inhabitants to valuable resources or protecting them from hostile mechs. I'm pretty sure this popped into my head when I was looking at Flames over Orion, but I was like, oh, you see it in tons of fantasy worlds too, of like the giant golem or the titan that was constructed by some ancient civilization that's half buried in the desert or lost in the Arctic. What if they weren't lost? What if they actually were still alive? And what if they were some of the only things that survived the doomsday? They were the only things that survived the apocalypse. And the people that live inside of them also survived. And now these things are just wandering the world, roaming from one dungeon to another, from one oasis to another, bringing their inhabitants to the resources they need. But what would be cool about it from an RPG perspective is the adventure isn't inside the mechs. Yes, it can have that happen where, like, what happens when the orc mech kind of is chasing your player's mech and there's like some boarding action, right? The orc mech punches its fist through the shoulder into the back of your character's mech, and then orcs start boarding the inside. Yeah, you could do some fights and some cool stuff like that. But the mechs are more of a means of just like downtime and transportation. They are delivering your characters to the dungeon, to the mutated radioactive forest where the characters need to retrieve some relic to save the people inside the mech and keep this thing going. It takes them all the way up into the Arctic, Pacific Rim style, just trudging through the ocean to go to some fallen wizard's tower deep in the Arctic. And then it walks all the way back down into the deepest depths of the most ancient jungle to open its hand up and let the characters go on, step out onto the top of some ziggurat to delve down into. That sounds so cool. And I think it would be awesome. So hopefully that inspires you. World building idea number 2. On this world, never mind. On this world, the realm exists within the failing memory of an ancient god who risks forgetting it should sacrifices and rituals not be frequently performed in their name. So this idea is like the world is material, but in terms of like where it exists and like what is the cosmos? When the characters look out into the heavens, what is that? It's not space, but rather it is the failing memory, the deepest pocket of the subconscious of some ancient god, who maybe the god who birthed this universe billions of years ago or whatever. And now this god has been busy doing other things, making new worlds, and they are close to forgetting about this one. But if the people of this world, if your characters, unless they are going out and doing great mighty deeds in the name of this god and making sacrifices to them to kind of like light that candle or ping it in the back of this god's memory of, oh yes, I remember that world. I did cherish those people. I wonder what became of them. And sort of the god kind of lets their mind linger on the world for a little bit longer and keeps it in existence. If the characters aren't doing that, then the world and the universe is just fades to dust. But it doesn't fade to dust because the sun explodes or entropy or anything like that. It's purely because the world is literally forgotten by the people who made it. I think that sounds very, very cool. I called that one Forgotten Scripture. Idea number 3, reign in hell. On this world, a zealous king led his people on a zealous crusade deep into hell in hopes of slaying the devil, only to fail and become trapped somewhere between its deepest levels. So you have King Arthur, or whatever, some elven king, right? And he musters a great force of knights and warriors and his people, and leads them down through the gates of hell, through the first layer, second level, third level, fourth level, thinking they're going to go kill Asmodeus or whoever the devil is in your setting, the archdevil of hell. But then either they're tricked and the devil pulls a fast one on them, or some of their allies betray them and side with the devils, or their gods abandon them. Like maybe the gods were like, we forbid you from going into hell. And they did it anyways. And then the gods are like, fine, you're on your own. Something happened and left these people trapped in hell. But rather than be like just totally overrun and destroyed, or even like fully corrupted by hell, they've actually held out. And over several generations, that kingdom has established a foothold in hell. Maybe they've taken over like the 6th level of hell. And now they've just lived here for so long that it's sort of like, this is just the world for people now. There's not really any hope of escaping. Or maybe like legends speak of an ancient doorway at the top of hell that if you can get to it, you can escape. But the kingdom itself, it's not going anywhere. It is in hell. And that's where the adventure could take place. So that'd be really, really fun. Idea number 4, strange germs. On this world, the character's home barony is under inquisitorial quarantine to prevent the spread of a Xenos plague that transmits insanity and aberrant mutations. This is a mix of I Am Legend, the Will Smith movie with the vampires where he's like living in New York and they've totally quarantined it and he can't, I guess he could leave if he wanted to, but like they blew up the bridges and it's like nothing is getting off of this island. It's a mix of that and oh my god, what is the cool movie with Anne Hathaway? It was based off the book. There's like the weird like shimmering field and they send the scientists in it. What the hell is that movie called? It has like the weird bear monster. I can't remember, but it's a mix of like those two ideas where maybe a meteor came down or a Xenos cult has sort of like summoned a beholder, or they have the corpse of a beholder and this plague is spreading off of it. A beholder zombie, that'd be a cool way to kind of start this adventure. But there is this Xenos plague that is spreading, and the Inquisition has essentially just cut off all access to the barony that your characters live in. They've blown up bridges, they've torched forests, they have guards positioned everywhere, plague doctor knights that kill anything that tries to leave. And the adventure, what I liked about this setting was that it's very confined within a very dangerous small space. you don't have to worry about the kingdom at large because the characters can't really leave, and it's all about saving this one barony. I like that it's not a zombie plague. It's not necromancy themed. It's more mental. It's insanity. It's breaking the minds of people. What does that mean for them? Does it turn them into aliens? Maybe for some of them. But it's just like warping reality around these people. It's very paranoid. The villagers are sort of turning on each other because nobody knows who's an alien and who's real. And then you've got the Inquisition that's like also a threat. Like maybe as this plague continues to spread and it's not killing itself, burning itself out, the Inquisition is starting to be like, well, maybe we're just gonna have to kill everything in here. And then you also have the option to send your characters on missions outside of the barony. You need to sneak out and get past the Inquisition to retrieve an item that might help us stop the plague or the spreading of the Xenos bacteria, right? That would be really cool too. And that was idea number 4. Idea number 5, perpetual chaos. On this world, anything found beyond the safety of the city's Gorgon Gate after nightfall risks unpredictable transmutation. The surrounding geography, weather, and wildlife can change drastically overnight. This is a perfect example of what I love about world building, which is, ooh, that would be kind of a cool idea. And let's kind of flesh this out a little bit. And then now let's just, erase everything and start over. And let's do something totally new. What if you had a setting that allowed you to do that? I called it I don't know what a Gorgon Gate is, but I liked the name. And I took that from the Medusa, the Gorgon, the Greek myth of the person who was mutated or transmuted into this monstrous creature. Some ancient city or magical city or a village with a wizard in there or whatever has built the Gorgon Gate in some sort of maybe like Geller field. It kind of protects the town or the city. But anything that is outside of that, when the sun sets, risks becoming transformed into some monster or something crazy. Or even it could just be like, you're still the same character, but now you're a Dragonborn. You were a gnome, but now you're a Dragonborn. Just this idea of pure chaos beyond the Gorgon Gate at nightfall. And where once the city, when you left the city, it was a rolling mountain range. The next day, it's a swamp. And then, a month later, it's suddenly a desert. It's not changing every night, but it could change every night on this world. And what's causing it, I have no idea. Maybe that's something you'll want to figure out and use this for your own campaign setting. And my last idea for world building is salvation ritual. On this world, a tithing of 100 gold must be offered at the steps of an ancient doorway every 1d12 days, lest a terrible and mysterious evil be released. This is absolutely inspired by Lost, the old TV show, which I have no idea how many of you have watched that. I didn't even finish it, but I just remember in this show, I'll just kind of quickly summarize it for any of you who don't know it. In the show Lost, this plane crashes on an island, and eventually these people find this bunker, and there's this person living in this bunker, and down there, there's this clock that is constantly ticking down, and when it gets close to 0, an alarm starts to sound, and they have to type in this code, and when they do that, then the clock resets. But they have no idea what would happen if it reaches 0. They don't know who built it. They don't really know why they're doing it. They just do it. And I thought that would be pretty cool in a D&D campaign. Not as the main threat. The adventure isn't pitched as like, hey, there's this mysterious gate and you guys are going to find a way to stop it. Or you're going to not pay the tithing and overcome the consequences. It's like adjacent. You're doing your, the Tiamat or the Vecna campaign. That's the BBG. But on the adjacent to it, the B plot or the C plot is this strange ancient doorway that the village where the characters come from. It's a mile outside the town, and since the village was founded, and before then even, there is evidence that people have gone and left a tithing of 100 gold, and it's, I guess depending on your setting, I don't know how much 100 is. Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little. But it's just enough in my head where it's like the characters could do that. A group of adventurers could muster up 100 gold pretty easily in a few days of dungeon delving, and be like, all right, here you go. But it's not so much that it would bankrupt them. It'd be like, oh, all of our gold is going to this stupid door tithing. But it's enough to kind of be annoying. It's like, oh, man, again, we have to go leave this 100 gold. Why are we doing this? And I think what's so cool about this idea, to just put it concisely, is it is such a dramatic choice for the players to have to make. Are you going to pay the tithing, and for how long are you willing to do this? And if you leave if you teleport to the other side of the continent to go on some other adventure, have you left things? Do you have a plan for how that tithing is going to be paid? Have you left a few chests of gold with the mayor who's going to make the payments? And can you trust him? Is he going to be good for it? Is he going to run away with the money? Like the fate of the world apparently could rest in your hands purely off of making this payment. So dramatic, so cool. And what happens when that payment doesn't come through and the door opens? Who knows? So those are my ideas. Those are my 1d6 world building ideas. Those are my 1d8 hobby missions. And that is everything. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I know I was not very active in the chat because, I don't know, I just had a lot I wanted to say. And I think I'm going to just be more, going forward, what my plan is I'll jump on, I'll start the stream, I'll do a bunch of my own rambling and talking, and then at the end, depending on how many folks we have hanging out with me, I can do a Q&A there. But I wanted to say thanks to Troper, Tord and Woodworking, Mother Doom, Alex Wants Beans, and Andres LP6439. Really good to see you guys hanging out in the chat. I appreciate you tuning in and listening for as long as you did. I'm not seeing any questions that immediately jump out to me in the chat, and that's fine. That's fine. I know I have not put out a video in a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people have completely forgotten about me, which I think is good. I am kind of excited to have a bit of a fresh start and to rebuild this church. So I've been talking for, how long has this been going on for? 35 minutes, an hour and 6 minutes. Oh my God, I've left my wife alone with our baby for an hour and I miss him like crazy. So that's where I'm going to end it. That is it for today. Thank you all for attending and tuning into this hobby sermon. I will see you next week for more hobby updates and whatever the main topic is. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I'll put a little poll up on the Patreon. Last little update for you all is the Patreon has also had a huge, not a revamp, almost the opposite in a way, where before I had several different tiers and some of them were higher priced because I was doing a lot more. Nowadays, I'm not doing nearly as much. I'm not very active on Patreon, and so I didn't feel very good taking more money than I felt I was at all deserving of. So I have taken all of the tiers down. There's just one tier. It is $3 for the 3 Eyes of Vecna, and that's it. And if you pay the tithing, you're certainly doing a lot to help me make all of this, just keep the wheels turning, allow me to get new minis, buy supplies, maybe, pay to get some stuff to put on an event here at my local game store, whatever. You're doing a lot to help me out. But in exchange, you'll get access to some Patreon exclusive blogs where the random table that I shared for the world building idea, that's in there for you to go reference again, so you don't have to rewatch the video. I'll be doing behind the scene photos and things in future posts. There'll be polls, all that sort of stuff. So it just, now I feel a lot better about it. I certainly am going to take a big pay cut, but that's okay as well. Like I said, it's a restart. We're rebuilding, and this feels fair to me. So if that's interesting to you, go check it out on the Patreon, link down below. But that's it for me. Thank you all for attending today, and we say these things in your unholy names. Amen.